Here in the United States, countless publications provoke offense. Like me, the majority of Americans are Christian, and yet we do not ban blasphemy against our most sacred beliefs. As president of our country and commander-in-chief of our military, I accept that people are going to call me awful things every day. And I will always defend their right to do so.
President Obama speaking today at the UN here in New York. One of those times on the presidential campaign trail when you get that advantage of incumbency thing. Leader of the free world, standing at the lectern at the UN with all the amazing green marbles, speaking as head of state, addressing other heads of state, getting to talk about yourself as commander-in-chief. And although the president was not campaigning at the UN today, there's really nothing like those optics for the guys who are running to replace him. Still, though, they're doing what they ought to be doing. Mitt Romney today working airport rope lines in Ohio. Paul Ryan also in Ohio this week.
Here's the killer. President Obama just the other day, he said on TV that I can't change Washington from the inside. Why do we send presidents to the White House in the first place? Isn't that why we send presidents to Washington, to change Washington?
This is apparently the new thing that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are trying to turn into a thing. That President Obama said it's hard to change Washington from the inside. Mitt Romney is on the record saying exactly the same thing on the presidential campaign trail, but apparently they want it to be a scandal that President Obama said the exact same thing that Mitt Romney said, which of course is ridiculous. But I highlight that speech from Paul Ryan in Ohio yesterday for a reason other than the hypocrisy of the dumb changing Washington line. And the reason I highlight it is because Paul Ryan's new stump speech, which he is airing out this week, is now tentatively branching out into foreign policy, kind of.
I mean, turn on the TV, and it reminds you of 1979 Tehran, but they're burning our flags and capitals all around the world. They're storming our embassies. We've lost 4 of our diplomats. And what is the signal that our government is sending the rest of the world?
It reminds you of 1979. See, Paul Ryan wants to look like President Obama is like one-term Democratic President Jimmy Carter. And so therefore, in that little pageant, Mitt Romney would be cast as Ronald Reagan, which is funny no matter how you feel about Ronald Reagan. But it's notable that Paul Ryan is even trying in a campaign that has been up to this point unwilling and sometimes unable to even engage basically on the issue of America in the larger world. He's finally trying to do it. I mean, they've been willing to turn foreign calamities and anti-American incidents into political fodder when they can. But in terms of what they're going to do on even just, say, the issue of the war we're in right now, they have really been unwilling to engage. Maybe this means they'll start. So far, I mean, famously, Mr. Romney didn't even mention the war in Afghanistan at all in his acceptance speech. He explained that in speeches like that, you don't go through a laundry list. You talk about things that are important. The war wasn't important to him. But it's not just specifically Afghanistan. I mean, here's another one. If you go to Mitt Romney's official website right now and you type the word drones into the search box on the website because you want to know what Mitt Romney's position is on the use of drones, you will find 3 results. 3. One result is Mr. Romney criticizing President Obama after a drone crashed in Iran. Then there's a policy paper criticizing the Obama administration for talking about drones to news outlets like the New York Times. And finally, you have one of Mr. Romney's surrogates applauding the president for killing Osama bin Laden and generally for using drones. So if you want to know what Mitt Romney would do with America's post-9/11 policy of killing people in other countries we are not technically at war with by using flying killer robots to do it, the answer is that he also thinks killing bin Laden was a good idea, he wouldn't talk to the New York Times about drones, and he wouldn't crash one in Iran. Those are apparently his big ideas on the subject. Any questions? It is days like this when you realize that however important this presidential campaign is and however important this decision is that we as a country have to make between these 2 candidates, our politics are essentially failing right now. Our politics are essentially impotent now as a tool for debating vexing moral strategic policy questions like this one. Choosing between candidates is supposedly the way we choose between policies and really important things that affect our country, including national security. But our politics have been allowed to shrink to the point where if one side doesn't want to talk about foreign policy and the use of military force while we are using it, then we're just not going to debate that as a country. Let people in Washington figure it out. We're not going to give any input. A new report out today from researchers at Stanford and NYU says that our secret drone policy, which we've been implementing for the better part of a decade, may be radicalizing the residents of a nuclear-armed country with a very large and restive population and a weak central government. We're really not going to debate that at all. That's not a policy matter that's worth some national discussion. No competing ideas up for discussion on this about maybe a change in course. I mean, this is what the Democratic president is doing. The Republican Party has no competing ideas on this at all. Nothing to say? With this policy, due process that we afford people who we kill using this particular means of killing, the due process ultimately consists of the President of the United States making the call. Kill or don't kill. This is a remarkable thing that we are doing purely on the president's say-so, but we are in the process of picking who's going to be the next president. We're not even asking where these two men stand on that issue and how they'd use that power, or if they think they would legitimately have that power, whether that power should actually exist. If we're not going to ask these questions now, then when exactly are we going to ask them? I mean, look at what's going on right now this week. You have President Obama at the UN today talking about the United States policy on Afghanistan and Pakistan. You have Secretary of State Hillary Clinton meeting with the president of Pakistan on that same day that an absolutely shocking report comes out about the consequences of what we are doing in Pakistan with the drones. You have the still developing story of a brand new drone strike in Pakistan yesterday that they tell us killed a senior al-Qaeda leader, but reports on these things often change after the fact. Who knows? You have all of this stuff happening all at once. And you have a presidential campaign that's red hot. But the conversation in the presidential campaign when it comes to this stuff is, he seems like Jimmy Carter. I read that Jimmy Carter was a one-term president once. Really? That's all you've got? How about this? What would you do differently? If the answer is we'd be stronger, that's not an answer. We deserve a politics that is capable of giving us choices, or at least setting up a debate between competing reasonable ideas about how to handle the most controversial things that our government does in our name. Our politics should be about the hard issues, not the stupid stuff. I know what the Obama administration's position is on Afghanistan, because he's the president and it's their policy. I have no idea what Mitt Romney would do differently on Afghanistan, if anything. I know what the Obama administration's position is on drones. I frankly find that position hair-raising. I have no idea what Mitt Romney would do differently on drones, if anything. I know what the Obama administration's position is on Pakistan. I know that Mitt Romney thinks Pakistan is very important. But is it inconceivable that somebody who can get an interview with Mitt Romney could ask him to explain why and how and what exactly his plans would be when it comes to that nuclear-armed country, how they feel about us right now? Politics is really all-engrossing and it can be really fun, but it should also move us some distance toward debate and decision-making on the hardest problems that we face as a country. That is not what we are getting from our politics right now. And if we're not getting it now, when are we going to get it?